You're watching Story Scroll. Real stories, raw emotions, and endings you'll never forget. Let's scroll into today's tale.
18 years of marriage. My wife went on a date and said, "I'll make it up to you later." I don't know what to do. I still can't fully wrap my head around what happened last night. After 18 years of marriage, I thought we had a solid life together. 2 kids, shared responsibilities, countless sacrifices, ups and downs. The usual messy but rewarding journey. And yet, here I am, sitting in the quiet of our house, feeling completely numb. She said it so casually, like she was talking about picking up groceries. "It's just dinner. I'll make it up to you later." Those words, that tone, I'm still in disbelief. After nearly 2 decades of building a life together, she just went out. And I don't mean with friends. She's seeing a guy. Looking back, I know I'm not perfect. I've made my mistakes, and sure, marriage isn't always easy. But I've tried. I've been faithful, consistent, and emotionally present. I've supported her career, stayed up late with sick kids, and made compromises I won't even list because they were just part of our life. In all these years, I thought we were partners in every sense. Yet, over the past year, subtle things started to change. Her phone is always locked now. She spends more time out with friends than before. New clothes, new perfume. Little details I noticed but brushed off as normal. And somehow, through it all, I missed the signs that she was slowly drifting away. Emotionally, maybe physically too. Last night, she casually mentioned she was going out. I assumed it was a girls' night or dinner with someone from work. Then she said, "It's a guy from work." There was a pause, heavy and awkward, like the air itself had frozen. I asked the question I didn't want to ask, but needed to know. "Is this a date?" She didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "I need to feel wanted again. It's not cheating. I'll make it up to you later." Those words hit me harder than I could have imagined. Make it up to me later? As if 18 years of marriage could be settled with some vague promise of restitution. As if my trust, my investment in this family, could be postponed. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just sat there, stunned, trying to process the quiet betrayal. All I could manage was, "Would you be okay if I did this?" She laughed, almost bitterly, and said, "This is different." Then she left, and I sat in the empty living room, the house suddenly vast and silent. The laughter of our children from earlier in the day felt like it belonged to someone else. The clock ticking was deafening. I spent the night replaying our life together. I looked at wedding photos, family pictures, little souvenirs of the life we built. I wondered when we went from being partners in everything to whatever this is. When did I become safe, reliable, unthreatening, but no longer loved in the way that mattered? Hours passed. She came home late, acted normal, went straight to bed without a word, without a touch, as if nothing had happened. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't talk. I could only think. I don't know what to call this. Is it cheating? Emotional cheating? Physical? Or something in between that doesn't even have a name yet? Am I overreacting? Is this something marriages can survive? Or is it already over, and I'm just too late to see it? I'm reaching out here because I need perspective, because talking to her feels impossible right now. And even if it were possible, I'm not sure I'd recognize her. I love my family. I love my kids. I love her, or at least the woman I thought she was. But last night, everything shifted, and I don't know if we can ever go back to what we had. If you were in my position, what would you do? Update 1. After posting last night, I didn't expect the response I got. Within hours, my inbox was flooded with comments, messages, and strangers offering advice I didn't even know I needed. People called it cheating. Others said I was too passive, urged me to see a therapist, or prepare legally. A few warned me that if she was willing to go on one date, it might be worse than I imagined. Reading these messages made my stomach twist. Not because they were harsh, but because part of me already suspected the truth. I tried to go about my day normally. Made breakfast for the kids. Drove them to school. Pretended I wasn't holding my phone like a lifeline, waiting for a message from her that wouldn't come. But little things kept gnawing at me. Deleted messages. Calendar events that vanished. Things that were suddenly nothing when I asked. And I realized I wasn't even snooping at first. It was just noticing, catching patterns the small shifts you miss when you're in the rhythm of daily life. When I brought any of it up, she became defensive almost instantly. You're being insecure. You're imagining things. I swallowed my rising anger and frustration. I didn't want to accuse. I wanted to understand. But every attempt was met with deflection, a polite shrug, or an eye roll. And the more she pushed back, the more I began to see that my instincts were not lying to me. Then came last Friday. She announced she was going out again. Not with friends. Not for just dinner. She said it like it was routine, casual, completely normal. I told you already. No apology. No attempt to hide it. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't a mistake or a lapse in judgment. This was a choice. She was choosing someone else, even if she still lived in our home, shared a life with me, and slept in our bed. I decided it was time for a conversation. Calm, firm, no shouting, because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. You're dating someone while married to me, I said plainly. She hesitated, then admitted it. Not physically yet, but emotionally, sharing feelings, complaints, private thoughts, the kind of intimacy I thought was ours alone. I still love you, just not like that, she said. I felt my heart crack, but it was a different kind of pain now. Not just hurt, humiliation, betrayal. I wasn't the other man in some romance. I was the one being quietly sidelined, kept as a backup. And worse, I realized this had been going on for months. Months of emotional infidelity, little messages, stolen moments, the gradual erosion of everything we had built. For days after, I started preparing myself quietly. I talked to a lawyer to understand my options. I separated our finances as best I could without creating a confrontation. I emotionally detached, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had to protect myself and our children. I stopped chasing answers, stopped begging for explanations, stopped hoping she'd see the damage she was causing. She noticed the shift immediately. The quiet control, the calm, the lack of desperation in me. It unnerved her. One night, she looked at me with wide eyes and said, "Why are you so calm?" I didn't answer right away. I let her question hang in the air, heavy and unspoken. Then I finally said, "Because I finally understood what you'd already decided." Her face went pale, and for the first time in months, I saw a flicker of panic. I realized that the power had shifted. I was no longer reacting to her choices. I was simply observing the consequences of them. It's strange, but in that calm, I found a sense of clarity I didn't have before. Betrayal isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's polite, subtle, said with a smile or a casual line like, "I'll make it up to you later." And sometimes, the worst part isn't that they leave you. It's that they leave you while pretending not to. I don't know yet where this path will end. Therapy may help, or it may not. Divorce may be inevitable, or maybe she'll see the gravity of what she's done. But I know one thing for sure. I've stopped being a passenger in this life. I'm taking back control, and I'm not letting my 18 years of investment in our marriage be erased quietly or casually. I don't have answers yet. I don't know if our marriage will survive this, or if the next update I post will be about separation, custody, or rebuilding a life from scratch. But I've started to see the truth clearly now, and that as painful as it is a kind of freedom. If you were in my position, what would you do next? Final update. I never imagined I'd be here, writing this after everything that's happened. But life has a way of forcing clarity through pain. After my last post, I spent days quietly preparing myself for whatever came next. I assumed she would continue her pattern, that the emotional betrayal would go on indefinitely. But life has its own way of leveling the playing field. Her affair partner disappeared. No explanations. No calls. Just silence. Ghosted. I could almost hear the universe laughing at her casually spoken promises that "I'll make it up later" that haunted me for weeks. She came home the next evening, eyes wide, voice shaky, trying to explain. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. I made a mistake. She asked for forgiveness. She begged, almost desperately, like she hadn't realized the magnitude of what she had done. I listened, calm, steady, aware of my own worth for the first time in weeks. I no longer felt desperate. The panic, the heartache, the suffocating sense of betrayal had shifted into something stronger: clarity. Therapy, reflection, long walks alone, all of it helped me see what I deserved. Love without respect isn't love. Being faithful, present, and supportive isn't something that can be casually disregarded. And yet, somehow, I had allowed myself to feel like it could be. The final conversation happened quietly, late one evening. No shouting, no slamming doors. Just the two of us in the living room, facing the reality we'd created. "You chose to date someone while married," I said calmly. She tried to interrupt. I shook my head. "No, let me finish. I chose not to stay." The room was heavy with silence. She sank into the couch, tears streaming. I could see the regret, the fear, the realization that her actions had consequences she hadn't fully considered. "I'll make it up to you now," she said, her voice breaking. I looked at her and replied, steadily, "You already showed me what later looks like." That was it. No jidding, no vaguing, just truth. An emotional mic drop after months of being sidelined, betrayed, and silenced. From there, the practical steps began. We arranged separation. The divorce is in motion, handled as peacefully as possible for the sake of our children. Co-parenting discussions are difficult but manageable. And for the first time in years, I feel a sense of peace in the home. Not because she left, but because I reclaimed my boundaries, my dignity, my life. She faces the consequences of her actions alone. I don't need to punish her. Life is already doing that. And I don't need to hold her hand through the mess she created. I've moved into a space where I can rebuild, refocus, and start living again, fully aware of what I deserve. The biggest lesson I've learned isn't about her betrayal. It's about the quiet, almost invisible ways love can be taken for granted. Betrayal doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it sounds polite. Sometimes it's said with a smile. And sometimes it's that tiny casual phrase that cuts the deepest. "I'll make it up to you later." I didn't lose my marriage that night. I lost at the moment she thought I'd accept less. And in losing it on her terms, I found my freedom on mine.
Thanks for watching Story Scroll. Hit that bell and stay tuned for the next story that will move your heart.